Welcome to the bold analysis, ladies and gentlemen. And this is a beautiful afternoon, Saturday. Some news that has just emerged now. Yesterday, Raila Odinga flew to United Kingdom in Britain, and in the airport, he actually met Chris Kun, the visiting U.S. senator who has been in the country for barely a week. And of course, I really believe, actually he said that, he bumped on Chris Kun while Chris was also living for US, and he has said that Chris Kun has been a long-term friend, and of course, relaying his information about, of course, sharing pleasantries. And the fact that he actually met with Chris Kun is something that was very intentional, and it was something that was planned. But then, so I want us to look at the UK trip, because it is happening at a context at the time the country is having some very interesting context. I want us to look at that. But before that, I really want to mention that Raila has said that Chris Kun has been a long-term friend for quite some time, and he has also said that amidst the talks, Chris has been a long-term friend. Remember, there have been a discussion that there was a diplomatic storm that has emerged in the country in the wake of the speeches at the devolution conference, when Raila hit out at Meg Whiteman about her position on the free and fairness of the last presidential election. So, of course, he bashed America and was even saying that she needs to go back to America. Personally, as the board, I think I support that, because that was reckless, to say the least. So Raila has insisted on that, and I think them sharing pleasantries with Chris was just to send a signal, or send a message that, not that they have maybe had some venom targeting the United States of America now. Why do you think, what could be Raila Odinga's mission in UK? According to the communication from his communication team, is revealed that he's going to meet high-profile officials in UK. Apart from that meeting, he's also going to meet some he's also going to pursue political interest between UK and the Kenyan opposition. And also, he is also going to meet with some opinion leaders and give a couple of speeches. Some interesting context going on. Number one, bipartisan talks is underway and is supposed to kick off probably next week, after discussion by both camps, both the negotiation team, the technical team, and the secretariat. And just 2 weeks ago, there are also other reports that Mama Ngina, the mother, Uhuru Kenyatta's mother, had also flew with the Uhuru Kenyatta family to UK, even though that has not well been substantiated, because the following week, former President Uhuru Kenyatta was in Uganda to negotiate, on allegedly some talks with the Ugandan president on matters the milk. So, and of course, that is something we're going to look at. But then, Raila Odinga has left the country at a time the discussion is about what Meg Whiteman said, and in the same measure, it is also about the talks that are going on. So what do you think is Raila Odinga's mission over the UK? Now, one of the things I see is Raila Odinga is going there in his capacity, number one, as the ODM party leader and an opposition stalwart, of course, in the Azimio la Umoja front. So that is first capacity. Number two, is also a very influential person, not only in Kenya, but also in the African continent. And of course, as a person that has been in the Kenyan political ecosystem for the longest time that you can even imagine. Now, what is in store, or what is in his diary? Number one, I think Raila Odinga is looking at the pursuing a lot of more a frontier on just recently police brutality. And why am I saying? Azimio has written a letter to ICC determining, calling for the UK, calling for interdiction of the prosecutor Harun Khan, and of course it has been about discussion about pursuing fairness, or rather justice for those who are affected by it. And that is one thing that could be on the radar, that he's going to do more lobby on the human rights front, in terms of the organizations that you will meet, those who will pursue human rights activities, especially in the wake of police brutality. And I see that he's taking that to another level to see if that can be pursued. Number two, we've been talking about the creation of the leader of opposition. And in the communication by the Raila Odinga Secretariat, they've mentioned that Raila Odinga is also going to strengthen ties between the UK and the Kenyan opposition. Someone would actually want to ask, what is their interest between UK and the Kenyan opposition? It could probably about the democratization process, the democratization space. And Raila Odinga could still be out there to maybe raising resources and the international support in terms of what exactly the opposition space is in this country. So if he's going to meet fellows on the social justice and the social justice space and the democracy space, then it's probably trying to angle vouching for international support in terms of that office. And I'm saying that office is because of bolstering our democratic space. So that could also be in the radar to try to create that space and also to mobilize some resources. This will also look at financial resources, because some of whatever is also going on in terms of democracy, the government is funding political parties, and that is why in terms of ODM party, the government is funding political parties and the other aspects that cannot be left behind. And that is something that could probably be in the radar. Now, other aspect that I also see is that Raila Odinga could also be taking a tactical retreat to re-strategize and just to make sure that the diplomatic storm between the Kenya and the United States is actually managed. In terms of, when he's away, the discussion will sublime, and more of Raila did this, Raila did that will go down, so that agenda will not get anywhere. Because I saw the narrative that government side took, and they were actually challenging Raila Odinga, saying that we should not look after, or rather we should not talk negatives about United States of America because they're creating jobs for us. And that retreat also serves as a strategy to make sure that they are out, that talk goes down. So I see that as a possibility. Now, the other third thing is strategy, and I want to talk strategy in respect to Azimio la Umoja. I said some context. Number one context is that Uhuru Kenyatta was allegedly understood to be in UK, and the other person, the Uhuru Kenyatta family, was also understood to be in the UK. So it's also about it's also about strategy in terms of the political posturing moving forward, the fortunes of the talks going forward, and what really Azimio will stand to be going into the future. Now, there is one thing that I want to raise it here, because Mtaani said that William Ruto is coming to dismantle the colonial powers, because Raila Odinga has actually been regarded as our colonial powers candidate, that he's been getting the backing of the United States, or rather not United States, but of the Britain, because he was a colonial candidate. So in the respect of whatever is going on, William Ruto has shown a lot of allegiance to the US. And of course, I need to say that US is only pursuing their interest. And it has nothing to do with Kenya or what the hustlers or the government is all about. It is all about their interest. The UK could also, because in the wake of the talks, they could also be looking for Raila and of course streamlining these talks. So because Raila has actually been perceived as pro colonial powers. That is what Mtaani was saying. And so they could also be trying to using Raila to counter US, and Raila will be used to checkmate William Ruto. Because I think if you realize, during police brutality, I think some UK organizations came out, the protest, UK organizations came out and they were saying, look here, this is too much and this is not the right thing. So I also see a possibility that Raila Odinga is quoting, or rather the UK is quoting Raila to checkmate William Ruto. This will take different shapes in terms of even when he's talking about the partnership and what will be the agreements they will be doing together. It is something that you cannot underestimate. But of course, nothing stops Odinga from going to US, from UK, just to take a rest. Of course, he's a human being. He's a human being. He also needs to rest. And if there are some talks, the international clout or the international footprint is also very important in the Kenyan political space. What I'm waiting to see is his reception. Is the Kenyan ambassador going to receive Raila Odinga in UK? Because I have seen a deliberate effort by Rigathi Gachagua to try to depict Raila Odinga as a private citizen. And when he was asking that why would a private citizen ask for Meg Whitman to be removed from office? And I was wondering, why did governors invite a private citizen to give a speech in the devolution conference? So I'm waiting to see how that would be, because it will then project what exactly is the perception, the kind of perceived image that Kenya Kwanza is giving Raila Odinga. Thank you. That's my take, and let's meet in the next.